Hi guys, oh, we're here inside the home. Of course, we're practicing home quarantine and it's so boring. So we need to find ways to make our time productive. Okay, so I made this, how do you call this? Facial mask, but it's melting. See? This is made of toothpaste. What else? Ano ba yun? Vaseline. Yan. Tomorrow, we will do another live. How to make this face mask from our daily products you can find inside the home. Okay? But today, since we are bored, and I am so bored, welcome to the first edition of our amazingly boring stories. Yay! And I hope this is the first and the last edition of our amazingly boring stories. So, sa lahat po ng walang ginagawa, to those of you who's not doing anything, once again, welcome to the amazingly boring stories. Opening credit. Welcome to the amazing boring stories. Amazing boring stories. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the amazing boring stories. Narrated by John Ewald. There you go. That's our opening credit. So, I hope once again this is our first and the last edition of our amazingly boring stories. And our first story for tonight is about two friends. There is two friends named Peter and Chris. So we will start the story, ladies and gentlemen. There was a boy named Peter. He had a friend named Chris. Peter asked Chris if he knows the alphabet. Chris answered, "Of course, I know the alphabet." So Peter told Chris, "Let's recite the alphabet." Chris agreed. "What is the first letter?" Peter asked Chris. "The first letter of the alphabet is A." "Wow, you are really good," Peter said to Chris. And then Chris asked Peter back, "What is the letter after A?" Peter answered, "It's the letter B." Wow, Chris was so surprised because Peter knows the letter after the letter A. So both decided to say the next letter after B together. They counted 1, 2, 3, and both said letter C. Both of them was so happy because they know the letter after the letter B, which is letter C. So what is the letter after D? Chris asked Peter. C. So Chris answered, "Oh, it's the letter D." "And what is the letter after the letter D?" Chris asked Peter again. Peter replied, "Oh, it's the letter E." "Wow, you are really good," Chris told Peter. And then Peter, of course, suddenly asked Chris, "Chris, what are the two letters after the letter E?" Then Chris told Peter, "Of course, I know the two letters after the letter E. It's letter F and letter G." Wow! With their amazement, the two of them was laughing and clapping their hands because at least they already know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters from the alphabet. And then Peter suddenly asked Chris, What is the letter after G? Then Chris suddenly stood up and told Peter, I know the answer. The letter after the letter G is letter H. With amazement in his eyes, Peter suddenly told Chris, if you know that the letter H is the letter after the letter G, what is the letter after letter H? Then suddenly, Peter answered, no, Chris, it's the letter I. So, Peter was astonished with the answer from Chris. So Chris told Peter, do you know the letter after the letter I? Then Peter answered, suddenly it's letter J. Both of them clapped their hands. And then suddenly, both of them became silent. Why? They were looking at each other. What happened? Why are we silent? Because they were thinking, what are the four letters after the letter I? Peter told Chris, you think you know the four letters after the letter I? Chris also answered Peter, I am very much sure that I know the four next letters after letter I. Both of them looked at each other. Without counting, they said, J, K, L, M. They were both shocked. Oh my gosh. They were saying, we know the four letters after letter J. Wow. They were both surprised that they know the letters after letter J. So now the question is, what are the next 5 letters after letter M? Peter said, I'll say the next letter. Chris agreed. He said, after letter M, it's letter N. Peter was surprised. And then Peter said, how about you, Chris? What's the next letter after N? Then Chris told Peter, it's O. And then suddenly Peter answered, it's P, my favorite letter because my name starts with a P. Of course, Chris was surprised and uttered, it's Q. Q, letter Q is after letter P. And then of course, Peter told him, it's R. The next letter is R. Then suddenly Chris gently told Peter, I know the letter after letter R. It's letter S. Peter was laughing because, of course, S means shh, silence. That was funny, Peter told Chris. Both of them laughed together. And suddenly, Chris asked Peter, how about you? What's the next letter after S? Then Peter shouted, T! T! I know the letter T! Then, after that, when Peter started shouting, Chris shouted also, it's letter U! The next letter is U! Wow! Peter was exclaiming to Chris, you're very good! Very, very good. And then Chris laughed because he told Peter, oh, that's the next letter. The word that you said starts with letter V. The next letter after U is letter V. Wow! The two friends were laughing. They were really happy because they were halfway through the alphabet. And now, Chris asked Peter, what's the letter next to letter V? Why, Peter said to Chris. It's the letter Y. Both of them was laughing again. So now, they are down to the last 3 alphabet letters. So Peter told Chris, let's say the last 3 alphabet together. Chris agreed. Chris said, 1, 2, 3. And both of them said loudly, X, Y, Z. Wow, the two of them momentarily ceased and looked at each other. They were saying in themselves that we are very proud of each other because we know the alphabet letters. Then the two friends congratulated each other and said, "You are very good. Now we both know that we know our ABC." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first edition of our amazingly boring stories. I hope you got bored as much as I did, and I hope that you did not continue watching this video, because if I were you, I will turn off my Facebook or change the page. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the face mask is melting and it's going inside my mouth, and it doesn't taste good. So maybe I will eat the face mask and not good for the health. Of course, we have to protect our health. And of course, we have to practice home quarantine and social distancing for us to help our government and each and every one of us to fight against COVID-19. I hope that you guys stay safe and healthy and always pray. Hi, Anne. This is what happens if you are in home quarantine. So, hope to see you tomorrow for the next edition of our amazingly boring stories, and I hope that you will not see whenever I go live, because you will regret. So once again, I hope you got bored as much as I did. So, see you guys. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful boring time with me.